Welcome to the Base Case and Build podcast, the intro, the first episode. We're going to start by talking about what is Base Case and Build, why we're doing this podcast, and then Jay's going to talk to us a little bit about why he started this program, and then you'll hear from Ann and I to talk about why we wanted to be involved. Base Case and Build is a program to help teach children and teenagers really the principles and the ways to think, tools to use to be able to solve problems and to really reach their highest goals and succeed in their life. That's kind of the simplest way to break that down. And what we do is use principles taught by some of the experts in the world, the thought leaders like Dr. Jeff Spencer, Nick Peterson, and some other very popular authors and different things like that. And so why we're starting this podcast is we wanted to just give other people the opportunity to hear from these leaders in a way that you can hopefully see and learn what we've learned from them. And as parents of these children and teenagers, to be able to see the value that these principles can bring, hopefully by learning, applying them in your life and seeing how that could really impact your children as well. We also are going to have parents of previous students in here to share their experience and how their kids have changed, their lives have changed by going through this program. So Jay, why did you start Base Case and Build?
Yeah, man. So past few years, I've been spending a lot of time being coached and, learning a lot of new principles and frameworks through, mainly through Dr. Jeff Spencer's CCA program and Nick Peterson. Dr. Jeff Spencer, in my opinion, is one of the greatest mindset coaches out there. They call him the corner man because, he could actually see around the corner and could actually see things that are going to happen before they actually happen. It's pretty amazing. He's been a coach, advisor, and mentor of mine, and some of the greatest achievers out there, like Tiger Woods, U2, Bulletproof, Nike. So I've been very fortunate to have him as my coach. I also joined the CCA program, which is a Certainty Certified Advisor program. This program is led by Dan Nicholson and Randy Massengale. Dan Nicholson is a best-selling author of Rigging the Game. Randy Massengale is a former senior advisor to Bill Gates and a professor at Seattle U. CCA has provided me with the principles and frameworks to make better decisions and literally how to rig the game of life in my favor. So a lot of the things that we teach in Base Case and Build is from CCA. And then finally, Nick Peterson, he's the author of Bumpers, and he truly is a genius amongst us. His content is the reason why I started this entire journey of self-improvement and learning. He has a saying, live to learn, give to earn. We teach this to the kids as well. And I could honestly say that he has changed the trajectory of my life through his teachings and through his connections. Truly amazing person. So going through all these programs and content and coaching, one of the thoughts that kept coming to my mind was, only if I had known some of this at a younger age, I would have avoided so much pain and heartache, like so many mistakes. You go back and reflect on some of the decisions that you made, and you're like, why did I do that, right? I also have kids. I have a 10-year-old and a 16-year-old, and I want to teach them some of all this knowledge that I've gained. So then, they can make better decisions in their life and become successful without going through the unnecessary steps of making mistakes, right? I mean, I know you learn from mistakes, but you don't need to make mistakes when you can avoid it, right? So that's when the idea of Base Case and Build came to me. What we do is we teach a new principle and framework in each lesson. We share our experiences with them and give them some real life scenarios and situations that they could, understand and relate to. So what we do after the class is we task them to actually go and talk to their parents about this, what they've learned, and share, get their experience and get their perspective of it too. So now what's happening is the kids are approaching the parents about what they've learned instead of the parents lecturing the kids. So now that's opening the floodgates up for conversations and deeper level of conversations without it feeling like a lecture, and it's creating this common language between the parents and the kids. So that's been one of the best, most valuable things from this program as well. And yeah, and then it's about it's all these different principles that we go through, different lessons we go through. It's just like a foundations that we build, and from that we just build more frameworks on top of that.
So thank you. And I'd love to hear from you about why you wanted to be involved with this program.
Yeah, I remember, man, this was definitely many, many months ago. Jay and I were chatting. We were heading to an event, I believe it was, and we were just sitting in the van and we're just, kind of chatting. He's like, hey, I'm, working on this program, and, I'm trying to, help these kids to understand a lot of the principles. And I'm like, man, this is so cool. Like I've always had like a vision for helping kids. I just never really knew what I wanted to teach and how I wanted to go about it. Right. And so as soon as Jay and I started, we had many conversations over quite a few months. He went through the entire first cohort, and I said, man, this is so cool. Like, and we had a long conversation about getting involved. And, one of the things that really stuck with me is that, we're sitting here consistently and constantly always talking about, man, I really wish that somebody would have taught this to me at a younger age. Man, I really wish that I would have had this framework 5 years ago, 10 years ago. And so with everything that he's been, discussing within this, I'm like, man, this is such a great thing to get involved in, and actually helping to build strong children, right? Because we always talk about it, and, a lot of the times that we all get together, which is, want to build strong children versus fixing broken adults. And the frameworks that we have learned through, again, I've been through CCA with Jay, a lot of the Nick Peterson teachings. I've done, lots of other personal improvement over the years. And I think that it's such a great opportunity for us to change the trajectory of a lot of these kids' lives, just in having very simple frameworks. And I think that in going through this, I'm actually getting so much out of it myself, because in learning, we also receive, right? And so in teaching, we also receive. And so in coming in and, having these engaging conversations with these such extraordinary kids, it's just been so much fun to really know that I fully understand what it is that we're discussing, but also the aha moments and all of the really cool experiences we get to have with the kids, and understanding how quickly and in depth they're able to understand a lot of these complex systems and a lot of these complex ideals is just so impressive to me. So I just am really enjoying, the experience, and really enjoying the journey along the way.
Awesome. Thank you for sharing that.
Yeah.
I love being part of this.
Tanner?
Yeah. So, so going back, we've been in the same community for, a long time now. And we were in the same CCA cohort and everything. And I think it was just at Wolf Den. I was talking to Jay a little bit more about this, and I was like, I would love to be involved. The Grey Wolf Summit, right? That event in November, whatever it was. And he's like, yeah, let's talk about it. I was like, okay, and here we are. But I have loved, and I don't know, I've always been kind of drawn to children and worked well with them. I have 3 of my own under 6. And so our house is a little crazy right now, but but I've worked with coaching, teaching, whatever, children of all different ages through sports, church, and different things for a lot of years, and it's something I'm very passionate about, because I've had similar things where it's like, man, I wish somebody would have taught me this when I was a kid. Man, that would have been so nice to know, and I could have, like you guys shared as well, could have avoided a lot of bad decisions and things like that. And so I'm super grateful to you guys for letting me come and be a part of this. It's been so much fun. We just finished cohort 2 a few weeks ago, and we're gearing up to start getting people signing up for cohort 3. And that's part of why we wanted to do this podcast, is, again, we want to get this message out to more parents, more people. So we really think that this can help build the foundations for success in your children and teenagers' lives.
Yeah, one of the big things that we appreciate a lot is being part of such an amazing community, right? We have we're around so many amazing people that are looking to do good things in the world, right? And we want to do the same thing for the kids, right? If there's so much value in it for us to be around the right type of people, that it would be the same. Why wouldn't it be the same thing for the kids, right? So we're trying to grow this community and keep them together as long as possible, and hopefully they could do good things together, and just be successful in life without going through the struggles that we went through, right? We look at a lot of adults now, they've gone through a lot of struggles and pains, but now they're, as adults, they're trying to fix a lot of stuff that they've endured throughout their lives, right? Why don't we get to them early, get them part of a community where they can feel comfortable, and just get them in the right track.
I think one of the biggest things for me about and going back to your whole thought on community, it's, I feel like we were all weirdos in the real world, right? I mean, seriously, let's be really honest about it. And we kind of go into the world and we were already kind of naturally playing our game more so than the other people in the world. And we ended up being like this little bit of an outcast, like you never really feel like you belong. And so once you actually find your tribe and find your community, it is such a cool experience to be able to show up and know that you're valued for exactly who you are, right? You're not a weirdo anymore because everybody else works just as hard as you. Everybody else has, the crazy wild ideas that you have. And it's really an amazing experience to find those people and to be authentically yourself. And so that's really,
a lot of that gets suppressed in school, right?
It does. It does.
So they don't get the opportunity to get that creative side out. So that's a great point. I mean, I like what you said there, because this gives them opportunity to start, focusing and using some of that uniqueness that they have.
Well, I think one of the cool things about Base Case and Build for me specifically is that there are so many different programs that are out there. Right, they're going, you can put your kids in karate and it'll teach them to have focus, and it'll teach them to, be respectful. It teaches them a lot of these types of skills. There's a lot of people that are out there that say like, oh, well, a skill is just like, having a math skill, right? Having something that you can monetize very quickly, right, in the real world. Whereas, learning to make better decisions, I think that is, it creates a much harder environment in which to teach people like, hey, this is actually going to be a great foundational, experience for them, because this is actually going to circumvent every aspect of their life, right? From playing sports to interacting with your parents to, how you interact with your siblings, right? And just being able to make good decisions in the world, driving, right? The things that we're teaching in Base Case and Build, and all of the iterations that we have that are going to be coming are just so foundational to the things that are important in our everyday life, right? And how to make good decisions when you're driving, right? When your sister steals your last Oreo, right? How do we interact with these, triggers, as we would call them in the real world? And what is the best way that we are able to, make decisions and move forward in a positive and productive manner versus what our natural inclination is, which is to be angry or upset or scared. But it's pushing, it's recognizing all of those things still exist, but being able to overcome and actually make better decisions. So that's really truly what I think that is the greatest benefit of Base Case and Build, on top of the fact that there's so much proximity, right, to some extraordinary people in this world.
The awareness that we create with the kids, the self-awareness and the awareness around them, right? We live busy lives. And then we also, if you think about it, the kids have busy lives. Like I have a lot of parents tell me, oh, I got them in so many activities, so many things right now. They're overloaded already, right? But if you think about it, having these foundations actually makes them excel in everything that they're doing. So if you have them in like all these activities and they're, you want them to do karate, you want them to do sports, you want them to do extra lessons in school or whatever that is, advanced courses, well, you'd want them to have the right foundations to excel in those, right? So it makes sense for that, to put something in something like base case and build where it teaches them how to excel in everything that they do.
Absolutely. Yeah,
I agree. It underlines everything that they're doing in their life. And so think about that. Like, as a parent, for me, if there was one thing that I knew would be able to help my child improve in all aspects of their life, that'd be worth it, right?
Yep.
Especially if you're already investing a ton into sports, or like you guys talked about, the different activities that parents, pay money to have their kids participate in hopes that they're going to learn these life lessons or just stay busy. But hopefully that they will learn things and improve, learn discipline, all that kind of stuff. We're essentially teaching them how to control the mindset aspect of a lot of those things, how to think for themselves, how to problem solve, all of these things, that knowing that, taking those into different sports or different arenas will help them to be able to really become extraordinary. And that's what, like, Randy Massingale, his whole part of the CertiT Certified Advisor program is talking about, becoming extraordinary and extraordinary people, and modeling, figuring out what they do, the principles they live by, because the things that we teach, they are lifelong principles and they show up everywhere. The people that are successful, that they live these principles, whether they know it or not, right? They have these and are living them and applying them in their lives.
Hey Tanner, I always my one of my favorite things that you always talk about is the time that you were having the conversation with your daughter.
Oh yeah.
I'm gonna just tell that story. It's one of my favorites, but it just, like, the fact that she is so young and she just gets it.
Yeah.
You're sharing this principle with her and she just got it.
Yeah.
So if you want to share it, it's one of my favorites.
The cookies story. Yep.
The cookie story.
Yep. So my daughter's 6, and we had some friends that brought over some snickerdoodles, and I don't think she remembers ever having them, but she loves, like, cinnamon and sugar. That's like her favorite kind of flavor stuff. Cinnamon toast, whatever it is. She loved these snickerdoodles. And after dinner that night, she was like, "Can I have another cookie?" I was like, "They're gone." And she started to, like, fall on the floor, kind of melt down a little bit. And I was like, "Hey, stop. Let's think about this for a second, okay? Right now, does falling on the floor and crying, is that, like, what do you want right now?" Right? And she's like, "Well, I want cookies." I was like, "Yeah. Does falling on the floor crying help you get cookies?" She's like, "Well, no." I was like, "Okay. So what could you do right now instead that could help you get cookies tomorrow?" He's like, "Oh." And she does, I don't know why she does it, but she goes, when she's thinking, she, like, puts her hand here, like, taps her face, like, It's like, I could ask them to bring us more. Like, you could. What else could you do? Like, well, I could ask you or mom to make some. I was like, yeah. Does that help you get cookies? A lot. That's a lot. Helped you get a lot closer to getting cookies than just crying on the floor about it, right? And she's like, yeah. Oh, okay. And then we continued the conversation, talked about, like, okay, how can you apply this to, like, relationship with your brother? What do you want? You guys want to be friends. You love hanging out with him and playing with him. So when he takes your toy and you just yell and scream, does that help you get what you want? Like, well, no. It's like, what happens? Well, I get in trouble. It's like, yeah. Right. But think about, and then as we went into, like, why does he take the toy from you or something? Like, do you know? And she's like, I don't know. Like, most of the time it's because he wants to play with you.
Yeah.
And so what can you do different? And she's like, I don't know. It's like, you could ask him, Link, are you trying to play with me? Or what do you want right now? And so she actually started doing that. And it was funny. The next time I heard her, he took a toy and she, like, was about to scream and stopped herself. She's like, Lincoln, what do you want? What do you want? Like,
It's baby.
It was so cute. And she's still kind of yelling, but it was like, okay, she's applying it the right way.
Yeah.
Like, it was great. And, it was so cool because she was only 6, and how quickly she was able to understand and kind of process these things, but quickly, but also slow at the same time. Because there were times when I sat there and let her think for 20 seconds.
Yeah.
Without making suggestions, and just let her kind of process through it. And she got there. And it was really cool. And it's like kind of set the foundation that we can now revisit those conversations and stuff.
Yeah, that's so cool. I always love that story because it just always reminds me that as we go through life, we continue to accumulate baggage, right? It's like every time you go to the airport and you're, like, picking up a new bag, right? And all of a sudden you're in your 30s or in your 40s, and all of a sudden you've got like 7 bags of stuff that you're trying to drag through the airport. Well, how receptive can we be when all we're focused on is all of this baggage that we're trying to bring from one airport to the next, right? And so I love that story specifically because it just reminds me at 6 years old, we have so much less stuff that we're carrying through life. We have so much less baggage. So we are able to be a lot more receptive and a lot more open to the things that are around us. And so in teaching such complex, like we think about this, and when I don't have any kids. And so when I used to look at it and I'm like, oh my gosh, this concept is way too complicated for these kids. And it's like, okay, well, we're going to try it. And so as we're going through cohort 2, and I'm like, okay, well, how can we bring this down to their level? We don't need to bring it down to their level. They get it. They understand. And it's so cool to just kind of watch them without all of this baggage that they've got, just walking through life. And they're able to just say, oh, that makes sense. Oh, receptivity, being open to new information. Oh, that makes sense. And they're just like, okay, I got it. What's next? And we're like, no, but I want you to understand. No, but I get it, because they don't have the baggage that we have, right? So they actually are able to pick things up a lot quicker because they're just so much more receptive. Very interesting. But that's why I love that story so much.
Well, thank you.
Yeah, one of the things that we do in our base case and build program is we have them journal at the end of each lesson. So it's called a quiz, but it's a form of journaling where they write down what they actually learned in that lesson and do a 6-word update. And the answers that they had were so amazing. Like it tells you how much they can comprehend and how much they actually take in. It's sometimes you wonder, are they really grasping this? But the fact that we were able to get them to journal about it shows that wow, they are getting this, and they get it just as much as anybody else. Adults, even actually adults might be even a little bit more difficult to teach some of this stuff than kids. The age ranges that we have for the program are 8 and up, so we have all sorts of ages, so it works really well with the range because it applies to everyone. Even the 17-year-old that we have, 16-year-olds, 15, 8-year-olds, they all benefit from it at their stage in their life.
Yep. That's something that I love. I feel like we have done really well is being able to explain things in a way that they understand, not just understand the concepts or the principles, but actually how to apply them in their lives as well. Because as you talked about, Jay, in their journaling and these quizzes, and through a lot of the just comments that they share during the classes, you can see like, hey, you get it, but you also understand how it applies, and that's really the application is the most important part.
Yeah. Well, we've talked about this. Oh gosh, we've had so many conversations between the three of us, but we've had so many conversations about just all of oh my goodness, I kind of lost my train of thought. But the application of knowledge, right? So we talk about you can. I know people that read 20 to 40 books a year, and they're like, oh yeah, I read like a book a week, and it's like, okay, and it sounds really impressive. And it's like, great, but what are you actually learning? Are you studying or are you reading? Are you reading for understanding, or are you just reading to say like, hey, I read another book? And say like, oh, look at me, I can read all of these books. But it's more about, and this is something that Randy actually really instilled in me. And he's like, look, I have the same book. Says I've gone through it 15 different times. There's 9 different colors of highlighter. I've got underlines, and every margin has notes in it. And he's like, because I'm studying it. It's not just a book to read and be like, okay, cool, next, throwing it over the shoulder. It is, actually studying and applying the principles that you actually learn. And that's where you're going to get the most benefit of all of that reading that you're doing. And I think that's one thing that we're really doing is, we're not saying, okay, well, here, we're going to read a book a week. And, you might forget it, but cool, as long as you retain 10%, like you're good, you're golden. Right? It's hey, we're going to take a very, very small piece of the elephant, and we're just going to slowly start to work on this little piece, right? And just focusing on one very small aspect rather than trying to just cram knowledge into their brain.
I think we've all gone down that path where we've tried to consume all the information, thinking that we're going to gain all this wisdom overnight. But then you realize it's like I didn't retain any of it, right? So yeah, it's a really good point. When you start actually slowing down, and we talk about that too. Actually, we learned that from Dr. Jeff Spencer, right? Restraint, and slowing down. Sometimes slowing down is more. But yeah, I mean, I one of the questions I get from parents a lot is, what do we actually cover in this program? So, what I would like to do is kind of go through what we actually talk about, or what we actually teach in the foundations course, and lay the foundations. So this is just the foundations of what we teach, and then we build on top of that, right? So going through the lessons, the first thing that we teach is playing your game. We teach the kids, how to be their authentic self, and when you're your authentic self, that's how you can become successful in life, right? You play to your strengths and not your weaknesses. In growing up, we always tend to try to fit into groups and friend circles that we don't really feel like we belong, but we just do because everybody else is, because we're not really playing our game. So we tell them it's okay to be different and be authentic, and play your game. So next thing we talked about is Champion's Mind from Dr. Jeff Spencer, how to be a good teammate. What makes a good teammate? Teammates show up, teammates contribute, teammates acknowledge other teammates' successes, and teammates don't leave other teammates behind, right? Because no one wins alone.
I love the being a good teammate and the playing your game. I love that we teach those first. I love that, because the playing your game, sorry to interrupt you, Jay, but the playing your game, helping them realize that their biggest strength is them, they are their biggest asset, that changes everything. Because especially in schools and different things, like in traditional school, you're kind of taught that if you don't think this way, then you're dumb, right? So we kind of kick that out of there. And then being a good teammate teaches people that, hey, you can ask for help. And serving other people and being there for other people is so important. The importance of those two things, I think, really can make a huge difference. Because I know there's been times for me where, and even still sometimes, where I don't ask for help when I really need.
And being a good teammate, it kind of ties into live to learn, give to earn, right?
Exactly.
You learn all this stuff, and we instill this in the kids, like the cohort 1 kids. I told them, I was like, hey, you learned all this stuff through all these weeks, all this knowledge. Now it's time to give, right? Give that knowledge to others and earn that wisdom, right? So the kids are actually excited about teaching the younger kids, so the way it's growing is just the way it's developing, and the way the project is just set up, and I just love where it's headed, as far as the kids are really want to do their part, and they're starting to believe in that whole concept of live to learn, give to earn.
Yeah, well, I think you really, that's definitely something that you really instilled in them. And I just love the fact that even all the kids from cohort 1 and cohort 2, you still have a free Thursday, right? So on Thursdays, you're like, hey guys, like, I'm going to show up and I'll be here if you guys want to be, if you want to, continue the learning. And my understanding is that a majority, if not all of the kids from cohort 1 and a majority of the kids from cohort 2 are all showing up voluntarily on Thursdays to continue their stuff. Right. And on top of that, we had a cohort 1 kid that came in and taught of his own volition. He wanted to come in and teach cohort 2. And I just think that is such a testament to the things that you brought to the table, as far as the being a good teammate, and, not just playing your game, but like being a good teammate and playing to your strengths, right? The kid that's in cohort 2, I mean, he is such a great teacher to the other kids. And I love when he gets on and he provides like really succinct and really demonstrates an understanding of the things that he was taught, and, now is teaching to the other kids. So I love that, we've got both of those, and it's just been such a treat.
Yeah, it's good when you see that growth.
Yeah.
So another thing we talk about is receptivity. This is from Dr. Jeff Spencer as well. Receptivity, receivership. Just being aware and being open to new ideas and others, so that you could grow as a person, because when you're not receptive, you become stagnant. And then we always tell the kids that by you just showing up to these calls and participating, that shows us and it tells us that you are receptive. So we give a lot of examples and scenarios about receptivity, and I know that's made a huge difference even in my life.
Yep.
We also talked about making good excuses. So, we all fall into the trap of making excuses in our lives to justify when if there's something that we want to accomplish, or some goal that we have and we don't accomplish it, then we make an excuse. We tell a good story, right? So we tell the kids that instead of looking at these excuses as obstacles, look at it as a challenge, right? Once you start challenging yourself to overcome some of these obstacles, then you're going to get a lot further in life than you ever imagined.
Mm-hmm.
So, and that was one of the favorite ones for the kids. When we did the presentations at the end, a lot of them really loved making good excuses. That, along with playing your game and being a good teammate, if you think about it, they all tie in together.
Well, that's why you were so specific, and that's what I loved, is that there was so much thought put into this first iteration of the certificate that we're doing, and they just all kind of playing together. And I know that, like, the last thing that we taught was asymmetry to the upside, and then we tied in how everything is helping you to figure out what your goal is, right, and figuring out the smoothest path forward to obtaining your goal. Right. And so all of the different things led up to that asymmetry to the upside. And that was I thought was just really cool, is that, everything ties together.
Yeah.
So.
Asymmetry to the upside is one of my favorites, because, like, people always like, how does someone always win? How come they're always, how do they always get it right? Right. Yeah. Are they just lucky? Going back to Dan Nicholson's book, Rigging the Game, he talks about asymmetry to the upside, and how to, look at the four lenses and make decisions to always have upside with little or no downside, right? And teaching this to kids at a young age, mm-hmm. right? Now they're going to look at situations and decisions in their life, and they're going to be like, just a second, I'm not only going to look at the upside, I'm going to look at, hey, some of the, the downside here, or the risk that's involved, and how can I get rid of it, right?
Yep.
So, and we give these examples, and I think Ann and Tanner, you guys did a great job giving some examples of how they could relate to that, and at a young age.
Yep. When I think it's very difficult, because as adults, again, like, the baggage that we carry is we've already experienced all the things that they've done, and so it's really easy for us as adults to discount the emotional state of the things that kids are going through. So we as adults are like, oh man, I've got to deal with taxes, and I've got to deal with income and paying rent or mortgage, and, like, all these things. I've got so much on my mind to just, like, sustain life, right? Sustain my lifestyle. And we look at kids and we're like, oh, what do you mean you can't make a decision on if you want to go and do soccer, or if you want to do football, and you can't do both? I don't understand. It's such an easy decision, because we're looking at it from the lens that we currently have, where all of those decisions seem very simplistic and easy, but we have to put ourselves into our child's mind and realize that a lot of those decisions, a lot of the frameworks that we now have as adults, because we're, 30s, 40s, 50s, we are able to make those decisions based on those frameworks that the kids don't have. And so that's why I think it is so important. A lot of the things that we're teaching are about making good decisions. And what is the qualification for a good decision? And so, in going through a lot of these things, we're teaching the kids how to do that at a younger age, right? But I think, again, as adults, it's just very difficult for us to be able to put our mindset into the framework of a child or a teenager, again, right?
And another favorite one that the kids had, I think they're all of them were favorite, but the one of the ones that I really liked was Closer Over More, and being able to understand what it is that you really want. Most people don't even think about that. First of all, think about what it is that you really want, and are you taking the steps to get there? And are you taking steps that's taking you further away from that? And Tanner gave some really good examples in the class. There was one where he talked about showed a clip of Alice in Wonderland where she had all these different paths to choose. But the thing is, in that example, she didn't really know where she wanted to go. So which path do you choose? You know, but if she defined what she really wanted, so let's just say that was she wanted to go home. She wanted to get home. Then she would know what path to take. But if she didn't, she might end up going to Disneyland or some world tour somewhere in the opposite direction, right? Taking her further away from what she really wanted, right? So, you know, we get, you know, that was a really good one. Some of the older kids in cohort 1, when I asked them, it's helped them a lot in their decisions, especially at that they're at a time where they're going to be making career decisions about what they're going to do next, you know. It also helps in sports. Any activities that they do is like, hey, you know, one student was like, I want to get a job. Okay, so you define what you wanted. Maybe you could define a little bit more as far as what type of job and a little bit more details, but what steps are you taking to get closer to that? And are you taking steps that's taking you further away? You gotta look at that. And when you start looking at it in that aspect of it, then you realize, okay, this is why I'm not getting closer, right?
Yeah.
And the last one we talked about was changing your environment. This is from the book Willpower Doesn't Work from Benjamin Hardy. Understanding that the environment that you set up can either make it easier for you to succeed or can lead to failure, right? I mean, just you got to look at your environment and are you fighting an uphill battle or are you swimming upstream, right? So that's a big one. And I mean, and also we get the kids to think a little bit too. I was like, who are the 5 closest friends that you hang out with? You know, what are they doing? Are they making you better? Are they doing the things that you want to do, right? Or are you changing? Are you not playing your game to do what they want to do, right? So the 5 people that you hang out with most are going to affect, you know, who you are. So a lot of this stuff, you know, if you take all the stuff that we teach in base case and build, it creates so much awareness in themselves and what's around people around them, you know, and situations around them.
Exactly.
Yeah, I think it builds a lot of momentum for the things that they want to do.
Awesome. I think we've covered a lot. This has been an awesome conversation. And yeah, I'm excited for the next episodes. We should have some parents coming on to talk about their experiences, some special guests and stuff, hopefully. I know one of the lessons we actually had Dr. Jeff come and talk to the kids. And you know, we're hoping to be able to get Benjamin Hardy to come and talk to the kids and hopefully have some of them as podcast guests and stuff. So that's one of the best things about the communities that we're in is the proximity we have to these, like I said, some of these amazing thought leaders and just extraordinary people.
Yeah, we have some amazing people coming in and talking. I mean, we had a firefighter come in who was part of our community and talk about the innovation of fire, and you know, just gave us a whole new perspective of what fire is all about, because obviously we think about the dangers and the fears that we have of it, but we don't think about what you can do, what the other side of it, the other aspects of it, right? So it's cool, you know. So we have a lot of community members that are going to be coming in and talking to the kids on a regular basis to give different perspectives, and we get to break it down for them. We get to talk. That's one more thing we could talk to the kids and break down and teach it in a way that they can understand it and give some examples to them.
Awesome. I think we're going to wrap it up. This has been really fun and we're looking forward to the next episodes.
Yeah.
Till then, see you next time.
Yep. See you
guys. Have a great week.
Bye.